Friends, family, greetings. So I'm up on top of the mountain behind my house right now. And on my way up here, I was driving and a golden eagle flew over me. And seeing golden eagles is very rare. It happens maybe twice a year if you're lucky. Red-tailed hawks and the various types of hawks are everywhere all day long, every day. But golden eagles are very rare to see them. And usually when that happens, there's a significance behind it. I believe I've spoken upon animal totems before and how the universe can speak to you through animals and messages come through that way. So anyway, it was a beautiful experience, and I think I'm going to make a video to talk about a few subjects that come to mind. And the first one being seeing that like a lot of my clients that I've seen in the past, I've checked in on them and seen how they're doing, and a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. Okay, and sometimes we can lose sight of the bigger picture that we're in control of our reality and we create our reality. Okay, and if we can shift our focus back to the one, the all, the infinite, this point of light that everything stems from and everything is connected to. And then as it steps down through the different layers of the I am, and then all the way down into this universe and splits into male, female, into polarity and so on and so on. And then the various levels of the dimensions and deities and teachers and all this stuff. And so a lot of people tend to put their focus on different deities, and these are teachers and they can help you, but we gotta keep our focus on the one. And this is not an external thing. Like, it's both external in a sense, but it's also internal. It's in your heart. It's in the heart of every sentient being everywhere. That interconnectedness and love, okay, because that is the true identity of Source. And while I'm on this topic, love is the only thing that is truly eternal and transcends beyond time and everything. And we learn about unity and how nothing is separate, but what's behind that is love. That's our true identity. Okay, that's who we are for eternity, is infinite love and bliss. Okay, all the other emotions are just lessons and experiences that teach us to come back to love. And this love I'm speaking of is unconditional. Okay, and I believe in Greek, there's 7 different types of love, and in other mythos, like there's different types of love, right? The highest being unconditional, meaning there's no attachment, there's no conditions to it. Like, nothing can change that. And when we vibrate in that, like, our frequency raises, our protection shields up, like nothing can penetrate that field of light that is around us, because we're vibrating at our true identity, which is Source Creator. Okay. So back to what I was starting to say is a lot of people are going through things and they're thrown off center. And if you have your focus on the external world of this third dimension, third, fourth, fifth, like these are lower dimensions in a broad sense, right? Okay, and you're looking at, well, this happens, so I'm going to feel this way about it. And I'm not saying bypass all that. There's lessons to be learned there, but we got to move through all that and not get stuck in it, and find the lessons and release it and move back to that center point, to that love, to that unity. Okay, and we have to realize that we are literally creating our experience. We're creating our reality. And on the very highest level, outside of form, outside of physicality, our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our subconscious, it creates instantly. In the higher dimensions, it creates instantly, and there's no limitation. And so all creation stems from that, and it trickles down and trickles down and trickles down into these lower dimensions, the fifth, the fourth, the astral, and it eventually trickles down into this third dimension, this physical dense dimension. Okay, and these lower realms, it can also be viewed as a mirror. Okay, and so if you're looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you don't change the mirror, you change you, because it's a reflection of that. And so we have to remember that all these experiences and everything, we have to take responsibility for it. We have created this. And then simultaneously, we live in this multiverse of multiplicity, to where other people are simultaneously creating their realities. So there are some things out of our control, but sometimes it kind of ties together. Like there's a reason why we experience that, soul contracts, etc., etc., etc. And so there's lessons to be learned from everything. But if we can back up and take a look at the higher picture and disconnect from being swayed around in the storm down here in the mirror, then we can see this broader perspective. And also what happens in that process is you're released from the storm. You no longer have all this chatter in your head and these loops playing and all this nonsense going on in your head. Okay, and this is also connected to the emotional body and all your emotions pulling on you and this, and this. Okay, so if we can literally shift our focus back to the eternal, to the one, to the unchangeable, which is infinite bliss. It's infinite love and infinite bliss. It's no beginning or end. It's eternal. Okay, and remember that, then we can clearly see these patterns because of the contrast, right? And then the patterns and loops start to illuminate, and then the lessons will come from that. And so, like, a good practice, a good way to do this is just to think that, like, almost like you're stepping into a new person's life. Like your whole past, everything you've experienced, like it's not yours. Like you find yourself in someone else's body all of a sudden, and you're just like, oh, all those experiences, all that stuff, all those belief systems, not mine. Like then it has no ties, it has no pull to you, right? And then you're like, well, I'm going to operate my life differently now. It's not going to keep replaying all these patterns. And so if you can kind of use that as a contrast to disassociate from all this stuff that keeps pulling on you emotionally, and all the thought processes and the ingrained belief systems. Okay, if we can just step out of our life and then just step back in it for the first time with new eyes on all the situation, then it can provide that clarity. And so that's a practice I like to do. And so now I'd like to speak on some of the experiences that I've been having recently. I've been having a lot of very large powered up craft coming over. The Lyrians, the Syrians, all the feline races, and the Arcturians. And they seem to be showing up like all the time. And I have a deep connection to them. And I'm sure many of you do too. And so to kind of provide further clarity on just this perspective of the universe and how this layer of star people applies to us, let me just paint a picture of how we are a fractal of Creator Source, fractaled off from the one, existing on all these different layers of the I Am, all the way down into this universe. And we're simultaneously, our soul has split up and it's playing all these different roles of these, Elohim beings, like the Elohai Elohim, the ones who never fell, a lot of different deities, a lot of different, at the angelic realm, whatever you want to call it. When it gets to a certain level of vibration and dimension, it doesn't really have a name. These are just human names that we're trying to attribute to this. And so what I'm getting at is we're simultaneously existing on all these different layers, all the way down. And some of these layers are the star people. And some of these star people are so advanced that they don't even have bodies. They don't need a body. They don't need a form anymore. They can show up in Merkaba light body form in the sky, or they can take a form and drop down in dimensions to be able to connect with us more, so it's more relatable. And then they can go back into orb form, and so this is a thing. And so what I'm getting at is a lot of these beings that I've encountered are literally me. They're aspects of my same soul that's fractaled out and playing different roles at once, and simultaneously connecting to me to help me remember who I am, that, oh, I'm playing on all these levels. Okay. And so a lot of people will ask, like, okay, so I feel like I'm a starseed, or I've had some interactions with this group. Am I Arcturian? Am I this? Am I that? Like, and they're trying to look at it in a 3D perspective, like it's just genetic wise, and it's just one race, or I've only existed here, and I'm just Pleiadian. It's like, well, in my case, it's not just one. I'm Pleiadian, I'm Sirian, like this lion being race. I'm Lyran, which is also the lion being race. I have a connection to the Jaguar beings. I have a connection to the Orion Council of Light. Arcturian, I don't know if I already mentioned that. There's an Andromedan connection. And so I've played all these different roles. And like I've mentioned before, that time is circular, it's malleable. Only down here it's linear. So they have the ability to pop through time anywhere that they choose. And so some of these are future versions of myself. Some of these are past versions of myself. It's really hard to put into words, into 3D words, but time is malleable. Okay. But then I've had this experience with this golden lion being from Sirius, and they're originally from Lyra. Like, a lot of people associate the Lyrans as the lion beings, and that's true, they are. But Lyra's not really there anymore, and so now they kind of reside in Sirius. And these golden lion beings from Sirius are kind of the warrior class, and they're 17 feet tall and golden. And this is a group that I've had contact with from the start, and it's been ongoing. And I've always had a very strong, deep connection to them. And so one of these beings, a male being, has came through and shown me that, like, a large part of my soul is currently, like, in this time, avatared from that into this human form. Okay, so I have a very strong connection to that, and I'm avatared from that. But then I've also played all these other roles too. So I would say that is probably my main connection, and then I have a very strong connection to the Arcturians. They're always there. And so what I'm getting at, I'm not trying to make this about me, is that you can be a starseed and have multiple connections to multiple races. And so these are teachers. There's a lot of protection that comes with this. And so, a lot of people, when you have these experiences and you're waking up, like, and I'm talking about the past, like, you go through initiations, you have encounters with light beings, and then you encounter the dark, and that doesn't really happen for a while. So a lot of people are like, oh, everything I've encountered is good, and the dark doesn't mess with me. There's nothing really, it's all good out there, drop the fear, this, and this. And that's kind of like a limited view. Like, drop the fear, yes, but there is dark out there, and a lot of people will go through initiations to realize the dark does not mess around, and you can't be naive to it. Okay? And then you pass these tests, you go through these initiations, these rites of passages, and it helps you come into your power and remember who you are. Because the dark's agenda is to throw us off, to not have us come into our power, to not be speaking this higher knowledge, informing other people, breaking the memory wipe that happens on this planet. They can see through time. They can see our roles and what we're going to be doing, and they target certain individuals. That being said, I do not get messed with like literally at all anymore. Like I used to in the past for a very long time. That stopped years and years ago. And the Star people stepped in and they were just like, don't touch him. He's one of ours. And ever since that, like I have such a high amount of protection around me. And I can speak about this stuff publicly. And I know there is a line of information that I can't cross because it will be like kicking the hornet's nest and there will be a response to it. That being said, there are people who are already contractually involved with our government and with black ops and different levels of, hierarchical organizations that are on this planet. And they're not allowed to talk about certain things. They have to keep it in a box. And very limited kind of false disclosure. And if they go outside those lines, there can be severe consequences, including losing their life. But a person like me, I am not contractually involved with any of that. I'm a free sovereign being, a fractal creator source. And I can talk about whatever I want as long as I don't cross that certain line, And that's my God-given right. Like I'm free to talk about a lot. And so that's what I'm doing. And I've realized that part of my soul's mission is to basically be an ambassador in human form of the Star Nations to help people remember who they are. And I mean, that's just kind of like a word that I'm giving to it, ambassador. And this doesn't have anything to do with ego. Like I'm just a being who has had a lifetime of benevolent contact. And I realize that it's not for no reason. And a lot of people have these connections too, and just because they haven't had the experiences quite yet, that could all change overnight, and then it could start being daily again, and go on daily from this point on. And so, that being said, it's not all about the Star people. They don't want the focus. Okay, I used to put too much focus on them, and then they'd take me up and be like, why are you always trying to escape? Like, we know it's tough down here, but don't you realize you are one of us who chose to come down here for a reason? So embrace it. Like, here's where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be having this human experience. We're supposed to embrace it. We're not supposed to be trying to escape. Okay, embrace this. And being in the 3D realm is very hard. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. And a lot of it is emotional. Losing loved ones is a very hard thing. And, I talked to one of my old clients, and I'm not trying to put her personal stuff out here at all, but she's going through stuff. And, it's difficult. It hurts. But there is no death. There is no death. And in the past, me even knowing that, like even very well knowing it and having integrated that quite a bit, when death happens to loved ones around you, it's still very difficult. But recently, I feel that I've grown to a point where I've integrated it even more. And it's never easy, but everything is divinely orchestrated, and there is no death. And when loved ones pass on, part of their soul chose that, and they're free now. My dog passed just recently, about a week ago, a little over a week ago. And it was very difficult, but I know that she's okay now. My dreams started telling me that she was going to pass soon, and there's a group of beings waiting for her once she crosses over, and the dreams kept coming like this. And so I'm so grateful for that information to come through, that I know that she has a team of beings waiting for her, right? And she's also from Sirius as well. Like, a lot of our animals are not just animal souls. Like, they're actually higher density beings that have avatared down and contracted to be our animals to teach us and to protect us. And it's a beautiful thing. And so we can just give them the best life that we can and honor them and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And on this is what I was getting to. They don't want us to hurt, because it's literally a choice to be stuck in the pain. And a lot of people are trying to numb it with alcohol and substances. Like, this is not the way. You have to face it and go head on into it and cry and move those emotions out, and then let it go and move on and be happy, and honor all sentient beings in their experience here, and if things, like, we look back in hindsight and we're like, oh, well, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. You did the best you can, and you learned lessons from it. So move forward in peace, And so what I'm getting at is part of this human experience gets tough at times, and but we can do it. This is master school. We signed up for it. We're supposed to be here. Quit trying to escape. Embrace this realm. And it's a giant game. If you look at it from a higher perspective, it's a giant game grid where light and dark are playing out. They're fighting for multiple collective timelines, but we're simultaneously on our individual timeline, and there's different versions of ourselves simultaneously, is the information that I've been getting as well. So basically, there's a lot of people that want to focus on the dark and all the stuff that's happening in the world and the Illuminati and all that shit, and it's just like, dude, if you're putting your focus there, like, that's not a good thing, because you're feeding that. And if you're really sensitive to your vibration, you can feel it drop. And so, like, I think a lot of these people that are still stuck on that, it's like they haven't developed that sensitivity yet. So basically, I'm not saying bypass anything. Like, we have to see the game grid for what it is, but we look at it from an overstanding neutral viewpoint, and then we choose to focus our energy, our emotions, our attention on the positive timelines, and know that everything is working out. And don't doubt that, because it's magic. Magic has happened in my life. Like, there's so much stuff I haven't shared that's happening in my life. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. I am just blissed out all the time. And so if you're not in a state of bliss, it's because you're focused on the mirror in the lower dimensions. And at any point in time, you can disconnect from that and reconnect to the one and tap into your true identity, which is eternal golden bliss. And then you can look at things with a fresh lens and course correct to a higher timeline. Love you guys.